when she's only wearing asphalt. That really ain't my class, dog. I like
on, everybody. We just got to get into this. In the essence of fairness, for those who don't read, we are making a video today to kind of go over some things that were highlighted, and some people kind of need to know in the Kyle Busch Should Go Dirt 2023 article that I put out yesterday. 5 reasons why Kyle Busch should go full-time dirt racing. We scroll on down. I really wanted to get to this competition part because this is the interesting part where I talk about the competition between the super late models and how they operate, and then the competition in the sprint car world, and kind of my analysis on how it works and how to kind of view these two different entities and how they operate. Of course, this weekend you got the Bristol Motor Speedway Bristol Bash with the World of Outlaws. You have the sprint cars and late models there on the same night. You're going to see these fan bases watch each other. What should these fan bases know about what they're each watching? Because it is a very big difference in the sprint car world, what the World of Outlaw sprint cars are, versus in the late model world, what the World of Outlaw late model series is. This is completely different. We just saw how Brandon Sheppard's not going to be there. He was a multi-time World of Outlaw Series champion. Now he is moving over to the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series. Everybody in the sprint car world who doesn't understand anything is asking why. Well, let me break this down and help new and current fans understand the differences, the organizational aspect, the money being made, how things are actually playing, the battles on and off the racetrack. So in this article of Kyle Busch, here's how it goes, and I'm just going to read it through because it's pretty much saying what needs to be said. Number 2 reason is competition. Most true competitors want to compete against the best, and anytime they think there is a next level or higher mountain to climb, they seek to find it. In dirt racing, we have recently seen this, as Brandon Sheppard, driver of the #1 Rocket House car, comparable to a Hendrick, Penske, Joe Gibbs type of team in dirt racing, opted to go onto the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series for 2022. After being a multi-time World of Outlaw Late Model Series champion. In the dirt late model scene, most people have viewed the competition on a regular basis with the Lucas Oil Late Model Series to be tougher and more competitive than the competition on a regular night with the World of Outlaw Late Model Series. The competitors between the two often clash, as the schedules allow the drivers to race against one another throughout the year on some weekends. But to compete for one title or another, a driver must commit to the full season of a particular side. This is a very interesting point here I'm trying to help everyone understand who don't really know dirt late model racing and super late model dirt racing in general. Try to picture the dirt late model scene as the NBA, with the Eastern and Western Conference, where they play each other sometimes. But in this scenario, when it comes to deciding a champion, there are only conference champions, and there's not a game to decide an overall champion between the two. In this instance of Sheppard's situation, using the NBA example, he has played in the Eastern Conference and won the championship multiple times. Throughout the years, people have perceived the Western Conference, the Lucas Oil Series, to be the tougher conference of the two. And even though Sheppard has dominated the East, that if he was to commit to the West, he would not be as dominant. So this year, Sheppard has made that move to go after that championship and prove he has what it takes to be a champion on both sides of the division. This is an important element to point out, as the competition in the dirt late model scene has its variants. Listen here, this is very important. And what makes a certain event or race sometimes harder to win than an actual championship. The Eldora Million referenced is not on either schedule of the conferences, and such events that pay the high amount of money see the two sides come together. The new XR Super Series and Flo Castro Series are limited schedule tours. These two limited tours, along with other crown jewel events, are a place where the two conferences see their current or traditional series best compete against one another, and can somewhat be viewed as a playoff or championship between the entire competition of the sport. This scenario is why some drivers have opted to commit to neither conference, Lucas Oil or World of Outlaw Late Model Series racing, only focus in on these higher paying events, and if a particular driver can win or somewhat be dominant in these races, they could be considered the best racer of the super late model scene in that particular year, whether he or her has a series/conference championship to their credit. These elements are important to understand when properly examining the competition of the super late model scene in dirt racing, as this side of the world is where the big bucks are currently being made and is extremely different from the sprint car side. On the sprint car side, focusing on wing sprint cars, it is not as profitable, but just as expensive to compete. There are fewer high-paying races throughout the year, and you do not visibly see a conference battle or one-off races trumping the series-based action. The scene is more so structured like NASCAR, with the Cup Series being the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series and the Xfinity Series being the All-Star Circuit of Champions, with no official association between the two except a general path of drivers mirroring this notion in his or her career. We see a lot of drivers go, test All-Stars before they go to the Outlaws. There's also not necessarily a truck series for the division, but more so different regions of the country where 410 sprint cars are popular and host highly competitive weekly racing events such as California, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Knoxville/Huset's, Iowa/South Dakota. This structure is not exactly like NASCAR, but is the closest thing to compare it in relative thought. The main reason it does compare is the way the community, and this is why I say in these last few years I've been going after the fans, is the way the community of the division views it. And this is also what causes the division to lack more high-paying events from outside sources. For one reason or another, the community views being a World of Outlaws sprint car driver as the pinnacle of the division, and winning the championship would garnish the respect of being the best driver in the division of said year. In the past, that was good. Current days, that could be bad, and here's why. The problem with that is the strings that become attached to be a World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series driver. The series, in somewhat of a self-defense way, contracts the drivers who elect to compete in the series. In these contracts, drivers are given certain privileges and compensation for traveling up and down the road with the series, as well as provisional starting spots in racing events if they fail to qualify. This happens in late model racing, but here's the bigger key. This all seems fine and is also very alluring to a team who wants to pursue the honor of being a World of Outlaws sprint car driver. The only string that seems to be holding the division back in this scenario is, unlike the super late model scene, where if a particular promoter or series outside of the Lucas Oil Late Model Series or World Outlaw Tour opts to host a high-paying event, the drivers are not allowed to compete in the event or must receive permission in advance from the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. This is where the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series has built a very smart business-savvy self-defense strategy. They garnish the attention and respect as the host to the best sprint car drivers and teams, then defend any potential rivaling organizations with a contract that controls the stars of the sport that the fan base wants to see. This is a reason, unlike the super late model division, that there are no other conferences or one-off big money shows without the involvement of the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series. If you are a promoter and are going to put on $1 million or $100,000 to win race with 410 sprint cars, you need the best drivers and teams involved to be able to garnish the attention and revenue from the fans to pay for the show. So if you plan to do something on that magnitude, you must schedule the Cup Series, the World of Outlaws sprint cars, for your show, or you will not have any Cup Series, World of Outlaws sprint car drivers at your event. And if you don't, you won't have the fan base to support the event because the stars of the sport will not be in attendance. This can be viewed as good or bad. Good as in you have one organization on top with the structure. I really wanted to say communism. But bad in the element of competition outside of the racetrack. Free market, America. We have seen in super late model racing how the competition between the conferences, XR Super Series, Castrol Flow Racing, and the one-off events have raised the payouts. The multiple organizations have to raise the bar to lure the stars of the sport to bring their race car to the track, because if they don't, the other guy will. In sprint car racing, the bar is set and doesn't have to move. There is no competition to go up against, because the stars of the sport are contracted to bring their cars to the track. There are certain events on the World of Outlaws sprint car schedule that have raised their payouts over the years, But this is not because of a threat to lose drivers, but is somewhat viewed as a charitable move. The raising of the payout is not to outdo someone else or keep a horse in the stable, but to help the teams and or bring a bigger feel to an event. This is also how sprint car racing relates to the NASCAR side. Because of the payouts not being raised substantially, the organizations on the tour full-time cannot logically depend on race winnings alone to solely fund operational expenses. Most of the touring drivers on the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series depend heavily on sponsorships to race on a season-long basis. And to garnish the attention/respect for big money sponsors as a sprint car driver, you have to be on the World of Outlaw Series tour because of the community's perception, which continues the cycle of dependence and keeps any potential stars of sprint car racing heading towards the direction to be under the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series banner. It is important, and this is where we tie it back to Kyle, it is important to describe all of this when weighing out Kyle going to dirt racing in 2023. He most definitely would not want to consider the sprint car side of things, as the potential of his career being dictated by a sponsor more so than his performance would be close to the same on the sprint car side of dirt racing. In sprint car racing, this is also why a lot of the drivers are careful on camera and try to say or do the right thing. They are dependent on the sponsors and the organization to make a living in the sport. You can say that is very similar to how a driver has to appease NASCAR and the sponsor on his or her car. We all know that Kyle has a personality, and it's kind of a threat of not getting a sponsor or getting a sponsor is kind of this personality. And in the super late model division, he would be able to express that without having a leash around his neck, similar to sprint car racers. All he would have to worry about is getting out there and driving, which is what leads us to our next reason, freedom. Freedom, which is very interesting, very interesting. So this is a very intricate part of this article that I spent a lot of time on this. I spent a lot of time on the compensation part. It was mainly late models versus NASCAR. If you want to go check that out, it is on longlivethechaz.com. 5 reasons Kyle Busch should go full-time dirt in 2023. Late models or sprint car, B-Shep and more. I reference B-Shep because of the competition element right here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, sprint car late model series fans, if I was describing that about the sprint car scene and you late model fans were like, whoa, that's how it works? Yeah, that's how it works. And maybe if I was describing it, the late model scene to the sprint car fan bases out there and you're like, wow, really? Oh, wow, World Outlaw late models? I'm basically watching, college? No, you're not watching college. A lot of people would say their World Outlaw late model series is 1B and Lucas Oil is 1A. Or maybe I think that this way of looking at it with conferences, where World of Outlaws is the Eastern Conference, Lucas Oil is the Western Conference, and these championship playoff-style games are these big races, these World 100s, these Dreams, these Eldora Millions, these Colossal 100s coming up, the XR Super Series, the Flow Series. These are where the conferences meet for big money. These can be viewed as the championship games, and that's why some of the biggest, most successful dirt late model stars, they ain't going on no tour. They're running around winning these shows because they know that in the perception of the goal of a late model racer, the fan base, you don't have to go win one of these tours. I mean, look at Brandon Shepard, won World of Outlaw tour all these years and ain't being crowned the best of late model racing. And why is that? Because of this conference situation. You got to go out there and do what these one-off guys, the Brandon Overtons, the Jonathan Davenports, the Chris Bands, what they're going off to do. Because they know if they go out and win all these big races and big shows, and XR Super Series and Flow Nights and all these things, they're going to be viewed by the racing world, the community, and they should be, as the champions of late model racing. They ain't worried about a Western or Eastern Conference. And as far as the sprint car scene, y'all need to think about what y'all are doing when you sign the dotted line. And you fans out there, you might want to think about how you could help to change it. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Check out the article. It is really good. And get you some Chaz merch on. Get you some Chaz merch. I got it on this side. I got it on that side. I got it. So if you go back, you ain't just paper planes. It's me.
See, I got Bristol on my mind, please don't take no offense if she don't really catch my eye, and she may only get a glimpse when she's only wearing asphalt. That really ain't my class, dog. I like her riding dirty, got her flirty when she blasts, dog. I like her throwing caution to